Okay, Suraj, we are having you back again, and it's such a pleasure always to talk to you. You're such a wonderful teacher, elder, wise woman, yogi of many, many years, and therapist. So you have so much to offer to our community. Thank you for making time for us again. And today we are going to cover a really big topic, which is the heroine's journey. Now, I trust a lot of you guys out there have heard about the hero's journey. I've done a video about it, and there's so much interesting material out about it. What most people haven't heard about is that there is a female, very different version to that, which is the heroine's journey. And Suraj is going to cover that journey for us today, and is going to enlighten us with the steps it takes for a woman to finally step into her full potential, I guess.
Yes, I think the heroine's journey is really beautiful, you know, because the hero's journey is the myth, and it really relates to the male journey. And Joseph Campbell said something like, well, women don't really need a heroine's journey because they're automatically on their journey. And I think that's really interesting, because often we are on our journey, but we don't really realize we're on it. And we go through many stages in our life, especially, you know, even with our careers, because we stop and have a child, or we have another child. We have many times where we can take a slightly different path. You know, we get married. All these things have huge impacts on us. And I think that just to celebrate those moments is important, to actually embrace them as change. Because I know for me, you know, I left school, I was a nurse, and then I went traveling and I became a ski instructor. And then I met my husband, and he was in advertising. I wanted to learn about business. And then I had a child. And then, you know, my life moved in so many different ways till I found my path. I did go through major crisis to find my path. I got to 40 and I did feel empty, and I had my business. I was successful. I had 3 children. I had a beautiful marriage, all those things. And still I felt like this. And I thought, how could I not have enough? You know, how can I be like this and feel like I don't have enough? How selfish of me. How terrible that is to feel like that. There's something wrong with me. But somehow it pushed me into this inner work, which I think is what the heroine's journey is. And we can go through this, and many times it's not necessarily just a one-off experience, but it's those times when we decide to take a slight turn in the road, when we come off our predictable life, the life that we thought we needed to create, and that we realize that it's actually not our inner fulfillment. It's something that we're doing that's part of our life, but it's not the inner meaning that we're looking for. So I'm going to give you sort of a few of the steps in the classic heroine's journey, because I think we can all relate to this. It's like, it starts when we're born. You know, we come out into the world, and we start to separate from our mother in a small way. And then, you know, we grow, and then normally in our teenagehood, we actually start to really separate from our mother. We start to question the feminine. You know, we see the negative parts of our mothers often, and we think, I don't want to be that. And I'm not going to be like my mother. And so we start to push her away. And when we do that, it's like we have an inner calling to find ourselves, to not just be our mother, but we don't know what we want or what we're looking for. And we tend to veer towards our father, that strong, you know, sometimes our father is not a strong male figure, but if it's not our father, it might be our teacher or our uncle or a mentor or something like that, normally male. And sometimes it's our first boss, you know, who's male. And we gravitate to that. And in a way that we start to want to be more like a man in a way. We go into a role often it's achieving success the male way, driving forward, gaining financial resource, all these things to build ourselves up, our professional self. And that really challenges us, and we can do it very well. We can be very good men. You know?
Yes.
And you might get to 35 and suddenly you think, is this it? Like, is this all?
And you might run into the fact that your relationships don't work, because if you're like out manning the man, that is a real problem. Like, I'm the prime example of that. I've done it and it doesn't work.
It doesn't work well. And often we're the ones doing the chasing in the relationship too, you know, and that doesn't really work. So we lose our feminine, and often the male, even our father, is often one that defines our femininity for us. Even when we're growing up through those teenage years, it's our father that says, don't wear so much makeup, or you look trashy, or, you know, get those heels off, or whatever it is. They sort of put us down through our feminine sometimes because they're afraid for us. They see our female power starting to come through, even just in our bodies, you know, our shape. And yeah, it's confronting for our fathers sometimes to see their daughter bloom into this woman that is not someone they know. So they sometimes dampen down our feminine, and they start to push us, you know, to strive. Well, yeah, go to university and do this degree, become a lawyer, become a doctor, become this. And we get confused about the feminine, because even our sexuality, it's like, can we love our own body or not? Like, all these things come up for us. So this is all part of our growing up. So often what this does is it pushes us into a crisis, because we're not happy and we're not empowered, and we feel a bit lost inside, and we don't know how to tap into this mystical feminine. It's elusive, and we felt that masculine power. So to be told to surrender is sort of like a bit crazy. We go, what do you mean? I'm not going to give all this up.
What the hell, are you nuts? Why would I surrender? It's like, I've got this thing. I'm very well in control of my own life. Why on earth would I surrender? Yeah, I've had massive resistance to that, and still sometimes do. It's like, you show me that you can do it better than I can, and then I might consider surrendering. Exactly. There's no way that I'm going to give someone else the lead if I'm sure I can do it better.
So we start to hold on to everything, you know, we get attached to these outside things, and but we realize we're not happy. So we tend to drop into a sort of an abyss, like a black hole. And that can be very painful. You know, we get lost, we lose ourselves in that. And somehow we have to lose everything to be able to come out of it. So there's a process in that, a deep grieving process, and inner search. It's an inner process, and we can't follow someone else. It's that time when, you know, when we're before that, we can look to mentors, male mentors or female mentors. But when we go into that abyss, we need to find ourselves. And so that's a soul searching time. And when we come out the other side, then we start to heal our relationship with our mother, like what we call the mother-daughter split, to heal that. And then to heal the relationship with our father, so that we can come into our wholeness, and then come into being able to hold love and hold our own empowerment, our own authenticity, whatever that is. It's like there's no definition of the feminine. It's not like you have to be this or you have to be that. We have to find within ourselves this beautiful mix of the masculine and the feminine, and how it plays out in us and how we communicate that. And that's a sensitive time when we realize we do hold an inner masculine. And sometimes that inner masculine that we hold is that domineering father, you know, or something. And we need to be able to see that and let it go, and embrace this wholeness of the inner masculine, like the heart of the masculine, you know, this stability the masculine has, that we search for, that's actually within us, that the stable heart. Because I know, you know, with my my past husband, ex-husband, he has such a big heart. You know, he's got this, and I guess that was one of the things I loved about him so much, this sort of stability around his heart. And so I was looking for that, and then I had to realize that I have that within me in a different way, a different expression of that. But I can hold myself stable, and I can hold my heart stability, and then I can, you know, let this flourish in me. I don't need to be so needy that I'm always needing that from an outer male. And once I recognize it in myself, then I can have a relationship with a man that is whole. It's whole. And
Mm-hmm.
and this relates to the feminine coming up in me as well, because I think we have to recognize and honor the masculine in us to be able to find the feminine in us. And those are the two things that are the last stages of the heroine's journey. Because for me, I feel that the feminine is actually a state of presence. It's being able to hold space. People say, what do you mean by holding space? It's like not needing to fix something, being able to be with what is arising without conditioning it to be something that I want. Just being in the magic of the unknown, of that. It's so beautiful, because it's being able to not have the expectation that this will happen, but this is the feminine, to allow the mystery to be there. And it's very creative. That mystery is creative, and men and women can both hold this feminine. It's coming into the world at the moment, and it's beautiful, because there's softness there, but there's also it's everything coming into balance. If we can let the feminine come through with the masculine, everything will come into balance. We'll go in and out of balance, because that's life. You know, we go out and come back in, but just to honor this mystery of the it's like the container. The feminine is really the container of life. You know, all of life comes through the woman, through the womb of the woman, and is nourished, and it's sparked by the male seed. So it's like both of those things create this ability for us to act on one hand, and you could say surrender on the other, but it's more like open to the space, open to the unknown on the other, rather than surrendering. It's like giving something up. I don't mean it like that. So being able to hold both those things, so that the action comes out of the stillness of the feminine wisdom and power.
It's the soil that holds the seed, or it's the in breath and the out breath. It's like it's yin and yang. One doesn't exist without the other. Now, one thing you mentioned a couple of minutes ago was the reconnecting to the mother, or healing the mother wound. And I bet you there's quite a few people who are watching this, who are wondering, how can I do this if I potentially don't have a great relationship with my mother, or if my mother has passed away, or if I can't communicate these kind of topics with her, because she might go and be defensive about it, because she feels accused, rather than hearing that I'm trying to get closer to her in that way. So how can we heal the mother wound if our physical mother in this lifetime can't be, or doesn't want to be, a part of this process?
Yes, I think it's really working with the feminine, because we reject the mother because of the negative sides of the feminine, you know, like controlling, or passive, or manipulative, or all these things. And they're all labels that we've put one on our mother, or a couple on our mother, and then we've hidden it within ourselves. So it is within us, that aspect. And so it's honoring the feminine, so that it's not really about your mother, but it's healing the mother wound in you. So whatever you see in your mother, the projection that we've talked about before, you've projected that onto your mother, the weakness, that she's weak. And then you've become very strong, outer strong. You look strong, but underneath your core wound is that you still feel that you're weak inside, that you can't handle life, you know, and therefore you protect yourself all the time, and that closes down your intimacy. So it's always the healing inside through reflection, sometimes through counseling or therapy. But this wound with your mother it's the first wound. So the healing of that gives you enormous freedom when you can see your mother also as separate from yourself. So you can see her through the eyes of love, but not through the eyes of attachment. Mm-hmm. And also recognize all the mothers. Like if you believe in that we have many lifetimes, then you know that anybody you meet could have been your mother in a past life. That's a powerful process when you start to realize the universal mother. You know, you can call her, could be Guan Yin or Tara, Buddha, or Mary, Magdalene, or any of these women, to start to relate to what they hold for us. You know, what those female saints hold for us is so powerful, because they're our teachers, really. And we've neglected that part of ourselves, and we've neglected them, and we've gone to men for all our teachings often. And to just be with that and ask those questions. You've given your authority to man. It's not that there's anything, I don't mean that we need to hold our own authority. Yeah. So this holding of our own authority is to see ourselves in our true light and wisdom, and be able to honor that in our mother also, that even if she does some crazy things, to just let her be, to accept that in her and not try and change her to what we want. She can't mother us the way we want to be mothered. It's impossible. We need to grow up and mother ourselves, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. And stop having those expectations of someone. Just like, I hope that my son doesn't have those expectations of me, because I'm never going to meet the expectations of the perfect mother. It's the same thing. Like, once we become mothers ourselves, we could probably also see the limitations of that role. Like, if we're being really honest with ourselves, of like, how much do we actually have to give, and how perfect can we actually be? And yes, we all wish we can, but the reality is often not that pretty either. So the journey I see so far from what you have described is that we are, first of all, moving away from mother and from the feminine, going down that masculine path. And I can so relate to that. That's exactly what I did. Like, I'm strong, I'm on my own 2 feet, I'm out in the world. It's all about, you know, which career paths, which studies, excel at that, etc. And then we are moving into crisis, whether that is when we have relationship issues or issues with a job, but something will trigger a moment of deep crisis where basically the masculine doesn't hold the answers anymore. And whatever that path proposes doesn't give us what we need, and it doesn't hold fulfillment. There's this general emptiness. So we go into that dark space. And from that happens the emergence into becoming aware of the mother wound, becoming aware of that rift, and then starting to heal that. And then you were saying the next step is to integrate both the masculine and the feminine. I think this is a part I missed for a really long time, because I was feeling that if I give up my masculine based strength, or if I give up my own agency, my leadership, and in any way end up surrendering, that I'm going to be less than or weaker or not as functional or not as productive. But it's really about adding in the feminine and honoring that again, feeling over mind, being embodied rather than living in the rationality alone, and finding this beautiful balance where we can tap into both by choice rather than only doing one or only doing the other, right?
It's as if they're both within you, and you're acknowledging them both and letting them both breathe through you. So it's natural. It can become a natural flow that you can hold both. But often the masculine that we hold, you see some women that can be so tough sometimes, you know, because they hold the masculine like their inner father is like a critic. And so that comes through reactively. So it's like, seeing that and softening that and understanding that you can hold, there's a masculine within you that is whole, that is strong and grounded and heart-centered, and let that strength permeate you. So that's a different sort of masculine than the competitive, driving me type of masculine. That's very destructive for us, because it hurts our heart so much. You know, it hurts us all the time when we try and push through like that. And so to understand that this inner feminine, the feminine is extremely powerful. It's more powerful than the masculine, actually. You'll see that a man who holds the inner feminine is extremely powerful. You know, that he holds the feminine because he can then, like a top businessman who holds the feminine will be able to be very dynamic in his business, but he'll let his people come up and grow. He won't hold them down. He will let leadership come through, and his business will focus on doing something that will help people's lives, that will be growth for people, that will support their growth. It won't be something that's just to make money. That there'll be, so
it's
he's
not self-serving, essentially. It's not self-serving, but it's serving other.
And I think that's what happens when the masculine and feminine come together. You can use your power, and you can feel your power, but you can use it for humanity. You don't use it just for yourself. And that is the grace, because it happens naturally. And when that happens, a lot of things start to fall away, because you're no longer interested in those games. So you have time. You use time in a different way. You're not always pressured by time, because you're not playing those games. So things are clear. You have a clarity, and you can come through, and the feminine can come through with that and support you.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful process. And I've come into this topic a couple of months ago probably, and I've found it's like a whole new feed. I've been so incredibly fascinated by it. So for you, dear person who is watching this and who is finding value in this, what we're going to do is we're going to paste probably a few links to a couple of good books. Like I have at least 2 in mind that I'm going to share. If Suraj has any further resources as well, or any recommendations to deepen your path when it comes to that particular topic of the Heroines Journey, then we're going to share that, and you can do further research. It's just such a wide field, and it's so incredibly beneficial for us as women to tap into this, rather than just trying to do success and happiness the masculine way. Thank you so much, Suraj. As always, it's been a great pleasure having you here, and very insightful spending this time with you. And we'll see you again very soon, I hope.
Thank you, Henrike. I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
And if you are watching and you love our content, then as always, feel free to follow our channel, click the button below. And if you like, afterwards, click the bell button that comes up, that will allow you to get notifications when we are posting our next content. Have a lovely day, and see you again soon.